Well, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. The purpose of today's webinar is to introduce to you our customers, Sage Intacct. We've recently taken on Sage Intacct as a new product line, and we just wanted to inform our customers and give you a quick overview of what the solution is all about. It's a new product for us in that it is an entirely cloud-based accounting solution, and we wanted to make sure that our customers knew that this was now an option available for you. This is today's agenda. We're going to go through all these various things. I'll introduce our guest presenter in a moment, but this is essentially the format of today's presentation. Next, I just want to, again, reiterate who we are. And you all know who we are because we've been dealing with you, most of you, for many, many years. The most recent product we've taken on, as I mentioned, is Sage Intacct. We've been a Sage 300 authorized partner, selling and supporting Sage 300 for our customers for many years, probably 30 plus years. We've also been a development partner for Sage 300 for about that length of time as well, and developing products to enhance Sage 300 over that period of time. And through our work with Sage 300 customers and Sage 300 in general, we've taken on certifications and authorizations for a number of different products, and many of them are listed here. One of the big things that we do is we're a publisher of a integrated e-commerce solution, a web store and customer portal and sales rep portal for Sage 300. And we plan to also make that available to Sage Intacct in the very near future. So stay tuned for that. So again, the purpose of today's webinar is to introduce you to Sage Intacct, just to keep you informed of what your options are as your business evolves. The cloud is becoming a very integral part of many people's businesses, and a lot of folks are migrating to the cloud, and there are significant benefits to doing that. And so that's one of the primary reasons for this, is education for you and to let you know that you have a resource should you choose to make that move to the cloud. I'm going to turn it over now to Linda Pinion. She is the Principal Solution Consultant with Sage Intacct, and she's going to run us through some of the stuff that we just discussed. So Linda, please take it away.
Okay, thank you so much for that nice introduction, to learn a little bit more about North 49, and to know that your organization, your team has been involved with Sage for so many years. That certainly gives you the depth of knowledge and experience that prospects are looking for. As mentioned, I have been at Sage Intacct for a while, almost 9 years now. And my role today, of course, is to bring you some of what I call the best of Sage Intacct. And as Peter said, we're going to take a little bit of time to educate you on the technology, a little background on us as a company, and then we're going to finish up by focusing on the solution. One of the things that I do as a solution consultant is I work with prospects to help understand what their business requirements are. And so I'm technically a product person. I want to live and breathe and be in the product as much as possible. So today, I want to share that with you. So let's go ahead and get started. So one of the things that we mentioned was that we were a cloud-based solution. And for some of you on the phone, that may be something that you're not totally comfortable with. You may be utilizing a solution today that is what we call, or what we refer to as, an on-premise solution. So to start out with, I want to give you a few key points around what is a cloud-based solution and what does our solution look like? What are some of the key areas that you need to know about? So first of all, we have always been a cloud solution. When Sage Intacct, at that time it was called Intacct, was created and developed back in 1999, it was created as a cloud-based solution. So it was not started out as an on-premise solution and then ported over or converted or changed. We've always been a cloud solution. In fact, the name Intacct comes from internet accounting. So that's the background of how that came to be. It is a single code base. Now, what does that mean to you? Well, again, today, if you're using an on-premise solution, many times you have different versions of the software that are being used. So I might be running version 8.1 and someone else might be running a more current version 9.2. We're both still running the same software, we're running different versions. And if you think about what does that mean, it means that the publisher, so the manufacturer of the software, must keep up with multiple versions of software. That means they have to have multiple people in product development. They have to have multiple people in support. And it makes it more involved and more difficult to maintain and more costly to maintain because I have different versions running. And we won't even talk about documentation because, as you know, every time you have a release, you need to update that documentation. So now, if I have multiple versions, I have multiple versions of documentation as well. So our model is truly best in class, and we're going to hear that and see that for the next 45 minutes to an hour. And that means that best in class allows you to choose what's best for every area of your organization based on their needs. What that means to Sage Intacct is that we are going to be your best in class for financial management software. We're not going to be everything. Our core competency is financial management. So that's what we're going to be focused on. Now, because we know that we are a portion or a part of that solution, we know that you may have solutions today, other applications that you're using that are fine, that you're not having any issues with. In fact, they may be very specific to your type of business or organization, and you want to keep those. In keeping those, you also want to take the financial impact of those applications and you want to move that over to this financial engine in Sage Intacct. So to do that, we have been architected to be able to take those integrations seamlessly into our financial engine. So when we say easy integration to other solutions, we absolutely mean that. That's what we do. That's what we're very, very good at. And you'll learn more about some of the components of that as we go along. A couple of other things that are very specific to us is what we call dimensional accounting. And today you're going to learn what a dimension is and how a dimension is going to help you in several fronts. More specifically, it's going to help you from a reporting standpoint. So when you get ready to report on certain information, you want to be able to filter and slice and dice that data to get to those granular levels of reporting. In some solutions, that means you have to have some fancy report writers, you have to do some exporting, you have to really manipulate the data, and in many cases, you need to take that data out to Excel and manage it outside of the system. Today, what you're going to see is the ability to use dimensions to have what we call multi-dimensional accounting and reporting. We know, top of list for most companies, specifically C-level folks, that visibility is top of mind. In order for you to be strategic in your decision process, you need to have accurate data. So having that data real time, up to date, accurate from anywhere, anytime, any device is important for you to be able to continue to accelerate the growth of your business. We have a very new user interface. And again, I have been at Sage Intacct for 9 years now. And in that 9 years, I've seen our user experience, and part of that is the user interface. I've seen that change 3 times. And every time it's changed, it's been based on feedback from our customers. And by the way, we have over 16,000 customers today. So having that modern user interface, we're very focused on the user experience. And then making sure that we are targeting what's important to the CFOs and to those financial professionals. We have many people on our staff. In fact, I'd say there's probably 60% of the people that work at Sage Intacct have accounting degrees. Many of them are CPAs. We all have very strong accounting backgrounds. So we know what the CFOs and controllers are looking for. Many of us have been in those roles, so we're very sensitive to what that group of folks is looking for from a solution perspective. Now, if you look at the right-hand side, as I've been talking, you may have been looking at that, kind of divided up into core financials. So when you think about the GL, AR, AP, you think about some of the additional modules that we have. Maybe you're a project-driven company, so project accounting is over there on the right-hand side. Perhaps you are a company that is like us, a software company, where you have subscription billing. So you see that we have contract subscription billing. We also have contract revenue management. You may be under the ASC 606 compliance, where you're having to report revenue according to the rules of 606. Depending on what type of requirements you have, what vertical you're coming from, you can see that we have additional applications or modules that support our core financials. And then you see up at the top, we have some industry-specific solutions. So again, when you think about what's important in healthcare versus what's important to a franchise, or what's important in wholesale distribution. So we have some industry-specific terminology, dashboard, functionality that addresses those different solutions. As I mentioned, we are very strong in accounting. That's our whole focus, our core competency. I'm happy to tell you that we are the only cloud-based financial management solution that the AICPA considers a preferred provider. So the AICPA is the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, and they are the folks that know more about accounting than probably all of us. And this endorsement has been in play. It was in play before I started. I believe it's been there for about 12 years. It's not something that we take lightly, nor do they. We are the only ones. We've been selected multiple times over. I think it's every 5 years they go back and do that review again. The second bullet here is a company called G2 Crowd, and you may or may not have heard of them. If you haven't, I would encourage you to go out to the web, g2crowd.com, and look at their website. So here's what they do. They go out and poll users of software, not just Sage Intacct, but other software solutions as well. And it's the users that are giving them the feedback. And it's totally from a different perspective. We're all used to the analysts going out. So the next bullet over here is about the industry analyst. The G2 Crowd is not the analyst, it's the users of the software. So if you want to know how someone feels about using the software, going to the G2 Crowd is going to give you that information. And I'm happy to report that I believe since 2013, not 1913, 2013, we have been part of the G2 Crowd and have received awards from them in different areas. So you'll see here, winter 2019, we are a leader in the mid-market, #1 in customer sat. So this is another place for you to say, okay, these people are recognizing the value of Sage Intacct. And then the third one is industry analysts. And a lot of times analysts will come out and they will determine where you are in what they call the magic quadrant. And for us, we're considered a visionary in cloud financial management. So 3 important awards that I wanted to share with you. Again, the AICPA, they kind of wrote the book on accounting. So again, we're very proud of that. I would also tell you that the international group of CPAs, they use their IFAC is the organization name. They use Sage Intacct. So they are one of our customers. And then, as I mentioned, we've got several verticals that we work across, whether you're not-for-profit, financial services, general business. And you can see some of the logos here. You probably recognize some of them. Many of our customers have started out as single entity and moved to multi-entity. Entity is the same thing as company to us. So they started out with us on a single entity, and then they've grown. Many of them have now gone global. Some of them were private and have now gone public. So we have a very scalable solution. One of the things that I also like to focus on, and I know North 49 is all about this as well, we are really interested not in just selling software. That's not what we do. That's not what North 49 does. We're in this for the long run. We're all about relationships. We know how important it is for you to be successful. If you're successful, then we're successful. So to do that, we've created a whole team of people around customer success. So we want to make sure that you have what you need. And one thing that I would point out here on this slide at the bottom where it says robust community, we have a community that all of our customers can participate on. It's like an open forum. Our partners and our Sage Intacct employees. So everyone is part of this community. It is so helpful because it has so much information on it. Think of it as a portal. You can go there, you can ask questions, you can find answers, you can register for training, you can review all kinds of documentation, white papers. It is that central repository for everything that you need to know, and it gives you the links to sign up for training with the university, or to log a question into the forum and talk to other people that are in your same vertical. So it's just a very strong part of our customer success. The other piece I would just advertise here is we do have customer meetups around the United States. We've had about, by the time this year ends, we'll have about 20 from coast to coast. And this is an opportunity, too, for you to get together with other customers in your territory, in your geographic region, and learn more about what is coming in the product, to network with those people, have a great lunch or breakfast, meet some Sage Intacct people, connect with North 49 and their team. So just a great way for you to extend your knowledge of the solution. So, you know, we are a modern cloud financial management solution for multi-entity. Remember, again, multi-entity means multi-company, and you'll hear me use that word interchangeably. One of the things that we do is we look at how we can give you quick business insight through what we call dynamic dashboards. We're going to start in the software in a few minutes on a dashboard. So you're going to see a dashboard, and a dashboard that is actionable. And that's important because you want to make sure that you can drive as much knowledge from that dashboard, and that's where we're going to start. Continuously, we are updating transactions. Remember, this is real-time, up-to-date. So that means that I don't have to go through some fire drill to get a consolidated view of what's going on. Today, you're going to see a consolidated view across 4 companies. And then I'm going to show you how you can filter that down to just one company or maybe a group of companies, because that's the way you want to look at the data. Having those processes streamlined and automated. Again, we talk to C-level folks all the time. One of the things that we know they're all interested in, it does not matter which vertical they're in, They are focused on streamlining and automating. And the reason is because it makes them more productive, it makes them more efficient, and more importantly, it helps them control cost. If you think about, being consistent is what allows you to reduce cost. I always use that Southwest Airlines example where they're using one kind of plane and only one kind of plane, one model. And because they use one model, they can educate their pilots and their flight staff on one model, just one. That means that I can take a pilot and I can put him in any city and he can fly that plane because that's the plane that he knows. Same thing is true of the ramp crew or the flight attendants. So the economies of scale and the consistency that provides helps streamline that cost. And then best in class. Again, we're back to making sure that you know that we're not going to be everything. We are going to be a part of the solution, a big part. However, we want you to have that freedom to choose what's best for every area of your organization. So when we look at the footprint or landscape, is another word that I use for Sage Intacct. One thing that I would want you to know is this is a fully integrated solution. This is a map that shows you some lines going from application to application. Of course, all of us in accounting know that all roads lead to the general ledger, and all of our roads lead to the general ledger as well. So we're very strong in that area. However, there are some foundational things that I want to point out. So if you start at the bottom of the screen and you look at multi-entity and global consolidation, unlimited numbers of companies you can define, so unlimited entities. You can have locations underneath those entities. Again, unlimited. So you can look at a single entity, you can look at an entity with multiple locations underneath it, and then you can group those together for reporting. The analysis and reporting and dashboards, again, a foundational component that says, doesn't matter what applications you have or how many entities you have, we're going to provide you with dashboards, with report writing tools, and the ability to analyze the data. Then when you look at some of the green boxes there, many of them you will immediately know and understand what they are. There are some smaller ones there. Prepaid expense is an extension of accounts payable. There's a collections application, so many of our customers are interested in having help in collections. SI budgets and planning, that's our Sage Intacct budgeting and planning application. The ICRW over here in the right corner, that's the interactive custom report writer. So with the solution, you'll have 2 report writers. And then if you need an advanced report writer, we have the interactive custom report writer. So again, just kind of giving you the landscape of what is in the solution. And again, knowing that this is a solution that's fully integrated means that we want you to do these activities within Sage Intacct and eliminate going outside to Excel or having to manipulate the data. One of the things that I talked about was integration and the fact that we are a best-in-class application or model. We have partnered with over 250 partners, and we don't partner with just anyone. We partner with organizations that meet our criteria and meet our format. So we're not interested in working with just everyone. They have to go through a certification, and we have to make sure that they are a good fit with our solution. I've compartmentalized them into some topics or some sections, if you will. So if you're interested in field service, excuse me, if you're interested in field service, there are several in that area. If you're interested in time and expense entry or travel and attendance, several in that area. AP automation up in the right-hand corner, several companies there, Bill.com and AvidXchange are a couple. Use is another one. We have a great relationship with American Express. If you look at CRM over in the left-hand corner, we've been a Salesforce partner for over 12 years now. We're a platinum partner with Salesforce. I just came back from Toronto attending the Salesforce World Tour in Toronto. And this is where Salesforce people come, and then folks that have integrations to Salesforce or are written on the Force platform are at this trade show. I was so delighted to be there and was so busy. It was incredible. There are lots of folks that are interested in Sage Intacct because we have such a strong relationship with Salesforce, and we have a connector that connects Salesforce and Sage Intacct, a bi-directional connector, and it helps to improve and speed up your order-to-cash process. So lots of companies that we work with, many of them have been on board for a long time as our partners, and we are continuously adding to this. 75% of our customers would tell you that they have 2 or more integrations. So this is what we do, this is our model, and we do it really well. So just to kind of sum up that section, there's 3 things here. Sage Intacct does all of them. We provide you automation. So we're going to automate and streamline those processes around that financial core, providing you with efficiencies and cost savings. We're going to take care of integrating to other best-in-class applications. We're going to make that easy. We're going to make that seamless. And you're going to get to choose what solutions you want to integrate. And then real-time dashboards, that visibility so that you can be more strategic, so that you can have that vision of where your company is today in order to help you know where you can take your company in the future. It's all about that growth acceleration. So let's spend a few minutes on the technology around Sage Intacct. And again, I'm going to step back to where I started at the beginning, talking a little bit about what is the best-in-class model and what's the difference and what is this cloud technology that everyone's talking about. So first off, when you compare an on-premise solution to a cloud solution, there are a lot of differences. And I refer to this as the iceberg slide. And it's been around for some time now. You may have seen it in your travels. But the gist of this is that if you look at an iceberg, you see what's above the waterline. So on the left-hand side there, you see that, you know, that iceberg doesn't look so bad, or that ice clump doesn't look so bad. However, what you don't see is underneath the water. And that's where, in this analogy, that's where a lot of your costs are in an on-premise solution. So what's above the waterline is really that software license, because you're in an on-premise solution, you are licensing software. So you license the software, and that's a portion of the cost. The other costs below the line are things like implementation, a big one, hardware, and this is, and hardware is something that may have to change or get updated, upgraded. It may be that you don't have the right hardware and you have to buy new. IT personnel, because you're going to need additional people, or you're going to need people, let's put it that way, to do some of the maintenance and the updates and the backups and make sure that everything is secure. You're going to need people to do that. And then you're also going to have a cost of training and making sure that you have your IT people up to speed on what they need to know in order to maintain this software that you have licensed. Now, there's some ongoing costs down here at the bottom that are kind of highlighted around things that are going to happen in a recurring manner, things that are going to happen over and over. And you may not consider those immediately, but I think it's important to point those out because that's really what's going to add to that cost as well. So this is not just a fixed number on the left-hand side. This is going to change, and many of those costs are going to continue to go on and on. If you look at the right-hand side, the iceberg is a little bit different. So the iceberg now is bigger above the water, and it's called something different. So it's subscription fees. So within your subscription fee, that's taking the place of you licensing the software, but it's also getting you the maintenance, the updates, the upgrades. And by the way, we have 4 of those. Once every quarter, we have an update. Everyone gets updated. There's not an opt-in, opt-out. We're all on the same version of software. And the things that we as the vendor take care of, we take care of the backup. We take care of the security of the data. We're taking care of applying those upgrades. So you don't have to load any software with updates. We do that. That's all done by us. And then, of course, there's cost underneath. And that cost underneath is really that implementation, any customizations that might need to be done, and then training. So if you look at how this nets out, you can see where the onus is on us as the software publisher to really provide everything for you. And because you are logging in via the internet, all you need is access to the internet and the right permissions, and you're good to go. Today, I'm running on my laptop. I could be running on my desktop. I could be on my iPad. I could be on my phone. I could be, dialed in from any location as long as I have access to the internet. So very different model when we talk about cloud computing. So a few points that I just want to make here quickly. The bottom line is that companies, organizations are moving to the cloud at a rapid pace. And the benefit really continues to grow. I mean, if you look at some of the other software solutions that are on-premise, those maintenance costs are continuing to rise. It's now touted that, cloud delivers 3.2 times more return on your investment. It provides, both lower costs going in. It also gives you a faster payback. So you're not spending as much upfront, and you're also getting a faster return. So the cloud deployments that are out there today have increased more than 50%. And we're going to see more and more companies moving to the cloud. So this is an increase in the adoption of the cloud model. Continuing to provide those benefits, and then really to look at it from the total cost of ownership. So TCO is the acronym there. It's touted that cloud deployments have an average of 2.3 times lower total cost of ownership when you compare that with an on-premise deployment. So this is coming from Nucleus Research. This is not information that I have created or made up. So I'm posting this based on the research that was done in 2017. So I would tell you that, as fast as everything changes, these numbers have probably changed and possibly have gone up from 2017 to 2019. So now what I want to do is I want to step out of PowerPoint. I know you've all come because you want to see some software, and I want you to see some software. So let's take a look at Sage Intacct, and let me move this down to the bottom to get it out of the way so that you can see the screen better. So what I've done is I've stepped into a controller dashboard. And the controller dashboard is one of many dashboards that I have defined. I'm going to start at the top and work my way down here. I want to focus primarily on a few of the highlights and primarily around visibility, because this is something that works across all different verticals, and we have people on the phone today that cover different verticals. So I want to make sure that we have something that everyone can take away from our presentation today. So the first thing I would tell you is that I've logged in as the controller. And as the controller, I am managing multiple entities. In this particular environment, so one environment, one instance of Sage Intacct, I am managing 4 companies. And my companies are 10, 20, 30, 40. They happen to be labeled states. So those companies are all here in this one instance. And if you happen to be someone maybe using a QuickBooks, these would be separate instances of QuickBooks. You would need to log in, log out. That's not the way it works in Intacct. By permission, I can transact in any of those companies, and I do not need to log in and log out. So one of the benefits here is unlimited numbers of entities in one instance of Sage Intacct. I have permission also for certain applications, and I'm able to go into certain places in the software. To navigate, I can use the drop-down menus and move into an application, accounts payable, activities and tasks and reports here in a menu solution. And then I also can navigate from a process map. So this is a map of AP. This allows me to just click on the icon and it will take me right into that section of the software. It also outlines the best business practice, and this is something that's helpful so you can see what's going on in this particular application. The third way that I can navigate is from a bookmarks menu, and this is a personal menu that I've created. This allows me to save a page and then come back in and click on it, and it will take me right into that place in the software. So just a faster way, easier way for me to navigate. So ease of use, very important to us. We want to make sure that our users are comfortable using the solution and they don't find it to be anything but intuitive. So remember that I said I had 4 companies here. One of the things on my dashboard are some performance cards. That's what these boxes are at the top. This allows me to see quick business insight. So very quickly I can see the revenue is $26,000. This is a consolidated view across all of those entities. However, I may not want to look at all of them at one time. I may just want to look at Texas. So let's use our dashboard filters and filter that. And now what you see is the dashboard has been represented. It's reflecting just the Texas information. So I don't need to recreate anything. I can just use this filter here. I can also filter by date. So if I wanted to, I could backdate this dashboard to the end of April and take a look at how I looked as of a certain date. So let's come back to our consolidated view, and let's put on our controller hat, and let's just say that I'm interested in knowing more about the general and administrative expenses. So this allows me to drill into the data. I can compare it to a previous month or period. I can also look at a specific transaction. So this is a bill that I got from Midtown Property for rent. And as I drill into this data, I can drill into the source document. So here is the AP bill that I got from Midtown. It's due in 22 days. And I can see that I've taken that bill and I've split it across each one of my entities. So each one of my entities is getting their fair share of this bill. I also could have used the allocation rule in Intacct and had Intacct do the math for me. So I'm asking it to take this $1,200 and evenly allocate it. And now Intacct has automatically allocated it to specific locations and departments. Now, this is a great place for me to stop and introduce you to what we called dimensions, and I talked about this earlier. Starting with location all the way to user-defined dimensions, these are many of the predefined dimensions in Intacct. We have 10 of them. And as you key a transaction, you have the ability to tag that transaction to one or more of these dimensions. That way, when you post the transaction, you're creating what we call dimensionalized data. And in a few minutes, you're going to see me take the data and slice and dice it based on one or more of these dimensions. So remember, dimensions are a way for you to tag your transactions. I like to think of it as telling the rest of the story about the transaction. Any of these performance cards can be drilled down the same way I drilled into G&A. You'll also have the visual indicators. So let's take a look at our income statement. This gives you a good view of how we use those dimensions to slice and dice. So let's look at the report and look at it in its entirety first. So this is a report of all of my entities side by side. I've got some conditional shading turned on. Again, quick business insight, I've color-coded it in red. This is going to alert me that I have something I want to go do some further research on. So I asked it, when I defined this report with a financial report writer, I asked it to format it this way, put everybody in their own column, put the conditional shading on, and I also broke out my chart so that I am utilizing my sales by product category or product line. So remember that, because I'm going to change that in a moment. So here's all my sales. If I drill into any of these transactions, now you'll see that I'm on the sales side of the house. Before I was on the AP side or expense side of the house. I can drill into this $80,000 customer invoice, and I can see that it's past due, 97 days. I've made a partial payment. I can drill into that partial payment. I also can see what sales account I posted this to, and the fact that it was shipped via UPS, and I tagged it to some of those dimensions that I've been talking about. I also can drill down to the source transaction. In this case, it's a sales invoice. So this is an invoice that I would have sent to my customer. They've made that partial payment, so they've made a partial payment. Now I can see the item that they bought, the warehouse and the location it was shipped from, the department, the quantity, and the pricing. And warehouse is another one of those dimensions as well. So now, if I want to know all about that particular process, I can click on the History tab. And this is your electronic filing cabinet. This is where you can see that it was a sales order, then it went to shipper, then it went to sales invoice. Each one of these steps in the process is user date and time stamped. So I know exactly what my audit trail looks like. And I also can drill into the cash receipt. So now I can see that there was a partial payment made of $8,000. And this allows me, whether I'm talking to someone internally or I'm talking to my customer, Texas Alarm, to be able to have all this information at my fingertips. If they're calling and they want to know whether their order has shipped or did I receive their payment, if I need a copy of a document, I can print it or email it from this screen. So again, this is access to information that today you're probably calling someone or digging in the file cabinet or writing something on a sticky note. Now, let's come back to those filters. Let's just say that I don't want to see all of my companies. I only want to see Texas, and I only want to see this income statement for a certain item. So let's go ahead and filter the report. And now what you're going to see is utilizing those dimensions, I have filtered it down where I see Austin and Dallas. Those are locations that roll up to the Texas entity. Remember, you can have as many locations. You can have as many Austins and Dallases as you choose to define. You can see them individually and see how they're performing or not in the case of Austin. You have the conditional shading. You've got the drill down. I didn't have to create another report. I just created another view. So this is a way for you to empower your users to have the information that they need at their fingertips. Now, one last thing that I want to show you on this income statement. Remember that I said I chose to break out my sales by product line. And breaking them out by product line that's a common way for people to do this. But today, I'd kind of like to know what exactly I am selling. So I want to know individual items. So by permission, so this is a permission-based way for me to do this, I'm going to come in and I'm going to edit this report on the fly from the dashboard. So this has stepped me into the financial report writer. So a couple things you should know. One, there are about 30 financial reports that are created for you that are there day one. So 30 that you can use exactly as they're delivered, or you can use them as templates. You can copy and create your own version. Things like income statement, balance sheet, cash flow. In addition to that, if you want to start from scratch, you can certainly do that. I would also tell you that there is full online help. So if you don't feel comfortable doing that by yourself, you haven't done it in a long time, full help, cookbook style, hyperlinks to other topics, all right there at your fingertips. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on a couple of things that I want to change on this report. So one of the things that is also a differentiator is what we call account groups. And account groups allow me to do just that. They allow me to group accounts together for fast formatting. So I have one account group here called net income loss, and behind that are all of the GL accounts that make that up. So that's what created the rows or the lines on my financial report. So that's what account groups do. What I want to do is I want to change on that detail on those lines or rows. I want to change the level of detail. So let's do that. And I'm going to use the dimensions to help me. I'm going to expand by item. And let's come back and look at the report. So now what you see underneath sales, instead of seeing sales product categorized, you see sales by individual item number. So you see the items that I sold, you see them spread across the 4 different companies, you see the conditional shading. Now you have a different way of looking at the data. I didn't have to create another report. I changed it on the fly based on permission. And this allowed me to know exactly what kinds of items I am selling. So again, just a simple way, but a very powerful way for you to be able to change this report. And if you like the way you changed it, you can come up and save that and make that your standard way that that report is shown. Just as easy for me to come back in and change it back, and I'm back to the way that I was. Now, while I'm here in the report writer, let me just point out a couple of other things. You notice that I had multiple columns on my income statement, and the reason was because in this column, and you can have as many columns as you choose, by the way, I've asked it to expand by location. I could have asked it to expand by any of these other choices. So I could have asked it to expand by department or by customer or by employee or by item. So now I can control the rows and the columns to whatever I want them to be. And I'm using those dimensions to do that. So think in a way, somewhat of a pivot table in that you're slicing and dicing that data. And then last, I do want to point this out. Once you create a report, you may immediately want to add it to a dashboard. And we've seen the controller dashboard. I have a lot of dashboards. So if I wanted to add this to a dashboard, I could click right here and it would ask me, which dashboard do you want to add this to? And you'll see that I have many dashboards that I could put this report on. So having the ability to immediately add it to a dashboard is great. I can also put it in my favorites list. You may have noticed some gold stars. That's what the gold star means. And more importantly, and this is where we help you be better every day, is to utilize the scheduler. So in the background, we have a scheduler running, and you could say, I want this report, or I want a group of reports. We call that a report pack. You build that report pack, and then you give me a start and end date, a frequency, and a delivery list, and the scheduler will run that automatically, drop that right into someone's inbox on a schedule based on what you set up. So it's kind of like that set it and forget it. So you create the packet, you set it up on the scheduler, Intacct takes care of the rest of it for you, and you don't have to go in and individually send those reports out. So that's the Sage Intacct scheduler. Now, if we come back to the controller dashboard, a couple of other things that I want to mention quickly before I close up today, and we'll open it up for questions. One other report, one other performance card here is sales by square foot. So if you are tracking any operational data, and most people are, but they're not probably doing a really good job of it, unless it's coming to them from another system. So you may have operational data that comes from a point of sale system as an example. What I've done here, I've set up a statistical account called Square Foot. I've entered a statistical journal entry that represents the total square feet in all of my warehouses. So each one of my companies or entities has a specific warehouse with a finite amount of square feet. That 156,100 gets divided by my sales to come up with my sales per square foot. I set up a monthly bucketed report, and I tagged that with a Sparkline visual indicator. So this allows me to see how my business is tracking from a different viewpoint. It's not just financial data, it can be financial and operational data. Now, I want to close up just by saying that a few key points about what you've seen today. Visibility equals accountability. You cannot be accountable if you don't have vision to what's going on in your business. So as you think about what you've seen today, think about what makes this work for you is having visibility to what's going on in your organization. Your dashboard is really a lot like your dashboard in your car. It's going to help you know what's going on. It's going to alert you when something is not happening correctly. So that's a little bit about the best of Sage Intacct. As we come back to our deck today, I want to just ask if there's any questions that have come in that I can ask. Peter, to give them to me, and I'll answer them for you.
Sure. I've just been monitoring the chat, and if anyone has any questions, just to enter them in the chat, just for expediency's sake here and to avoid any background noise. So one that's come through, Linda, how long is a typical implementation of Sage Intacct?
So I would tell you that we have defined methodology. Our implementations, many of them are done via the internet, via the web, certainly managed by a project manager, and the North 49 team will be available to walk you through that define and design. But as a rule, I would say implementations are 8 to 12 weeks. And, you know, again, that depends on some factors within your organization, but I would say a good rule of thumb is 8 to 12 weeks.
Okay, great, thank you. Here's another one that's come through. What types of companies are using Sage Intacct?
So I would tell you it's a variety of companies. I would tell you that we certainly have some sweet spots, if you will. About a third of our companies that are using Intacct are coming from the nonprofit area. So if you think about organizations, foundations, even your schools, we have a large faith-based bank of customers coming from not-for-profit. Another large area is our software as a service. So anyone that is utilizing subscription billing, that's another big vertical for us. And then one that's kind of new for us, that was a sub-vertical for us, is wealth management and financial services. So when you think about companies that are family offices and managing assets, wealth management, that's become a very strong vertical for us as well.
Okay, great. One more here, unless something else comes through while you're answering this one. What would be the #1 reason for moving to Sage Intacct?
I would say the #1 reason is to embrace a new technology and to embrace a faster deployment of that technology. And then, you know, overarching all of that is to be able to have that best-in-class model. And I can't really emphasize that enough, because many people that we talk to, like I said, already have solutions they're using today that they're happy with. They don't want to do a rip and replace. They really want to utilize what they have that's working, but they need that strong financial engine. So I would say it's really about getting on the modern technology, moving to the cloud. That's going to improve your cost and save you time and create more efficiencies. And then looking at the model of best in class. Those would be the 2 reasons.
Okay, thank you. And I don't see any more questions at the moment, so I guess that pretty much wraps it up for you. Thank you very much, Linda. That was a great presentation, and hopefully very informative to the folks watching. Just to close things out here, I wanted to put our various contact information up on the screen here. If you want to learn more about this, reach out to us. We will be happy to have a discussion with you, understand your business process, your requirements, recommend the most appropriate solutions for you. You can find us on all the social media platforms listed here. If you want to give me a call me directly on the number listed on the screen, or email me to the email address there. And we will chat with you about what you need and show you more about Sage Intacct if you want to learn more. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your time today, and thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to talking to you soon. Bye now.
Bye, everyone.